still gives us a chance to try and bounce back after disappointment on Saturday. You looking forward to the game?
Yeah, as we were talking there, it's a place I like to go to. You know, it's always got a great atmosphere, big club sort of feel. But aye, they're probably on a similar path to us at the moment, just lacking a wee bit of confidence on a sort of poor run. So with two teams that are desperate to get 3 points, and it's always a good game against them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's the first time we'll have played each other this season, but I think a lot of the players who were there last year are still with them, and it's where we finished the season last year. So it'll be interesting to go back there a few months on and see what about them might be different, might be the same. Are you kind of expecting a similar side?
Yeah, as you said, it's by and large the same team. They've got a lot of quality, as do we. As I said, they're probably both teams not showing it as much as they'd like to at the moment. But as usual, we'll go and impose ourselves on them and hopefully grab 3 points.
You touched on it yourself there. Both teams maybe having a much slower start than they would have anticipated or hoped for, but both in the playoffs last year, both in those top 4 places, and I know from our perspective it's a definite yes. I assume it will be the same for them, looking at those places as the target again this year. So talking about two teams that want to be involved at the business end makes it exciting.
Definitely, as you said there, that's where we want to be. I'm sure that's where they want to be. I had a lot of good games against them last year. As I say, they possess real quality, but I think just like in our changing room, we have that as well, and as you say, it'll probably be a good game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going.
There were always, bar the one game just before the playoffs that was kind of a preparation match almost for the playoffs, because both teams sort of knew they were there.
Yeah.
They were always very tight. It was draws or a narrow, a one goal in it defeat, either way. So are you expecting it to be as nip and tuck? I suppose the form both teams are in is going to take some kind of impact on the game.
Yeah, probably going to be cagey, but if they are anything like last year, they were sort of free flowing as well and like to attack, just like we do. Both teams will be looking to get back to that. So yeah, it's about us though. With all due respect, like we want to go and I feel like if we play the way we can, then we'll definitely get the 3 points. So that's what we'll look to do.
We've shown already, obviously not enough, but we've shown already this season what we can do when we play to, you know, not even I would say our best, but we can play up to the levels that we're capable of. Is it just about getting to that point again, just needing that wee moment to spark us back into a kind of groove?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think just now the confidence is a wee bit low. You can see that we're quite being hit with injuries quite bad, but everyone's digging in at the moment. And before Saturday we had 2 sort of performances that were decent, we were building. Also we've taken another sort of step back on Saturday, but if we can get back to the way we were playing previously the weeks before that, we're probably very unlucky not to pick up 3 points in either game. We've come out one from 6, which is just the way it's going at the moment, but it quickly turns in this league. If you get 1, you get 2, and confidence starts to build, and you can find yourself at the business end of the table, as you said. So that's what we'll look to do.
You're by no means a veteran, but yourself and some of the other players that were here last year are amongst the kind of more experienced guys. Is it an onus on you to help the kind of younger, newer guys through a kind of tricky spell?
Yeah, definitely. As you say, I found myself in a sort of position of being one of the older players. I was talking to Johnny about that just on Saturday. It's just about picking everyone up. We're not a million miles away, although it feels like that when you're losing. We're not. It just takes a wee something to turn for you, and as I say, gain a bit of momentum, and I'm sure we can hit the heights again that we showed 10 games ago at the start of the year. That's just the message that's been driven this week, and we're really trying to get back to that.
Well, here's hoping it starts again on Saturday. Thanks, Adam.
Cheers.
Rhys, obviously, as a supporter, Saturday was a sore one. I know it must have been a sore one for you, the players, all the staff. Has it been difficult to get the boys lifted back up again?
Of course, it's never easy. And listen, after a defeat and kind of performance, and of course the main thing is about picking the boys up. But back to league action on Saturday, and you can still reflect on the game Saturday as much as you want. But listen, we've got another game coming up, and the main focus and the priority has to be about picking the boys up and going into Saturday with a mindset and a kind of belief that you're going to go win the game.
outside of one match against Partick Thistle last season, which was sort of in the build-up preparations for the playoffs, it was all very, very tight draws, 1-goal margin wins either way, and then in the two playoffs themselves, that same thing, a draw and then a 2-1. So very, very tight affairs, very kind of close games, incident-packed, enjoyable. You expecting similar on Saturday?
I don't think being unreasonable or whatever. I think Partick would like to be in a better running form as well, very similar to ourselves. So I don't think it's going to be set up for a 6-0 or a 2-0 or anything like that. I think it'll be kind of tightly fought and kind of closely contested. And listen, we'll obviously be going into the game confident that we can build on maybe these past experiences. They've always been kind of tight and well fought games, and again just got to make sure that we're going in there with the attitude and the mindset that Saturday and previous results have gone. We've got to try and look to the positive, because if you don't, then you end up just getting yourself a wee up.
The two playoff games obviously is how we ended the season, so back to the scene of our last match of that campaign. It's a long time on, but both teams will probably have aspirations of being in that, definitely have aspirations of being in those top 4 positions again. Too early really to be thinking that this makes much of an impact on that, I guess.
Aye, because again it's very early on. Football can turn and change very quickly, kind of as we know and as we've experienced, both good and bad. You just need to look at the run of results from now, this interview, until even after Christmas time, and you'll be looking and going, God, I didn't expect that, or they've picked up a bit of form and they've maybe dropped off a little bit. And that's the nature of this league. We knew it from the start, we knew it from pre-season into the season, that some teams and whatnot have made a really, really positive good start. Some teams are maybe just a little bit slower, and that's the nature of this league. It always will be, unfortunately. Love to be in a position where you could go and be runaway favourites from 2-3 games in. Now we're not obviously through the first quarter yet, but it gives us a wee chance to then kind of reevaluate, reset, and again look to the positive. But one thing we always do is we always kind of start the season slow, and we always seem to kind of pick up, which is a trend that seems to be a regular thing for Airdrie teams. And listen, I'm absolutely confident it's going to be the same again. It's circumstances, everything playing into one, but these circumstances can't be affected too much with mood and mentality. It's got to be a case, it doesn't matter regarding injuries and decisions with referees or everybody feeling sorry for yourselves. The only people, like I said before, that can kind of change that is us. We've got to make sure that we go out on Saturday with the same kind of enthusiasm and intensity that we have done in recent league games. Learn from obviously Saturday, put that to bed, and try and go and get a positive result.
Thistle are the only team that we've yet to play in the league, but I suppose, like ourselves, they've had a turnover, perhaps not as, definitely not as big a turnover of playing staff as we've had. Does that mean that they're going to be fairly familiar even though it's our first meeting?
I don't know, is the honest answer. I think it is tougher with a turnover because they'll have their basic players, your Brian Grahams and Aaron Muirheads and people like that who've been at the club for a long time and understand principles and how people work in terms of the manager and stuff. But there's also been kind of fresh faces come into the club as well, likewise for us. And listen, it takes a bit of time. I'd love to sit and say that someone just hits the ground running for them the first day that they come in from training and whatnot, but realistically it doesn't happen in football. Prior to even us last season getting to the playoffs and going through these kind of positive achievements that we done and getting a cup win and stuff, it was the best part of a 2-year cycle that coached and developed and kind of got the players and us together as a group to that level. And we've had a turnover of players, which that happens, in every club at every level. That's just the nature of the beast. And you'd like to sometimes continue on from where you've left off, but the harsh reality is that you can't do that. And that's not a negative, that's just a case of understanding that you're going to have that wee period and that wee cycle where there is a bit of kind of learning process and there is a bit of kind of toothache to go along with it. But listen, we were in the same position 2 years ago, whatever it was, 3 years ago, in League One, and it was only been at the league for a certain period of time and all this, and the best part of 2 years, you could gradually see the improvement, and that's no different from the players and the team and the staff and the squad and stuff that we've got now. We're trying to propel the club forward. That's everyone, for the playing side as well as the kind of off the field stuff, which we're doing a good job, but it doesn't sometimes happen in the right trajectory all the time. You have bumps, you have hurdles that you have to overcome, and that's part of football. I know that. I've played enough games of football to understand what football's about, so I get it, understand it, but listen, like I said, the group of boys and the personnel that we've got in there, you've seen through kind of positive games so far, Aberdeen for example, and certainly early parts of the season, that there's good players there, and sometimes it's just about kind of dealing with circumstances and stuff just now, as well as obviously reminding them how well they can obviously play.
It sounds really, really cliche, I know, but there is that obvious kind of level of togetherness in the group, despite them still in that gelling process. Does that give you a lot of that confidence? Does that come from the fact that you see them together in training and how they interact? Aye,
but that's part of the environment that we've created from 2 years ago. Players that we bring in now, you ask them, it's the biggest thing for me when recruiting a player or bringing someone to the club is about the personality. It's about how they're going to gel with the boys, how they're going to gel in our environment with our standards, with our kind of ethos and kind of principles, and those are the people that you want at your football club. And like I said, the people that we've brought to the club, whether that be early on in the season, kind of a wee bit further into the season after the kind of League Cup campaign, is that everyone will tell you the same thing, and it's a really good group to work under. And that's not just meaning staff and players, I'm talking about from the guys upstairs, you guys, there's a real positive, good feel about what the club wants for the individuals. We want the best for them on the pitch, off the pitch, and we genuinely want to see a good, positive kind of success story. We use Justin Devaney as a prime example for us. He's went to Crystal Palace, he scores for Northern Ireland under 21s the other day, and that's what it's about. A real sense of pride and commitment, not just for me but his ex-teammates and the guys upstairs. There's a genuine kind of enthusiasm that he's doing really well and real kind of positive kind of take on it. So that's the take that we'll have with everyone. And like I said, it's about creating that culture going forward. A few injuries that were obviously longer term, they're going to be a week closer, I guess, so that's good news, but a couple knocks picked up on Saturday. What's the latest on the guys who had to be subbed off? So Cammy Bruce, I think he just twisted his knee with one of the tackles late on, and again we've had a scan and whatnot, so we're waiting just to find the extent of the injury from that one. Remind me of the other one.
Well, Sam went off as well, didn't he?
He's trained as normal, okay, so maybe just a bit of fatigue, tightness, and try to think off the top of my head, Dylan and a few others is just general kind of fatigued. Shouldn't be an issue, but like I said, we don't know. We can only go and if boys require a scan or treatment or whatever. So everybody else in terms of good positive is obviously Dean McMaster making good progress, was out doing kind of plyometric stuff on the pitch, which is real bonus. Terrell Adjaman the same, with Liam McStravick, who you've seen in today, kind of just rocking up to training like he's wee Ned self, and gives you that buzz, gives you a wee bit of a lift, which sometimes you need, and gets the spirits and stuff up. He's not a million miles away, so it's a couple of weeks maybe max until he's back into some form of training, whether it's managing his load early in terms of making him the floating player and stuff like that. We'll be back into contact in the next couple of weeks, which again from his point of view gives us a real bonus in the attacking kind of sense. Aaron Reid again is obviously with his hamstring is just looking at a kind of like grade 2 hamstring, which would be again kind of 6 to 8 weeks I'd imagine, okay, which isn't ideal. Like I said before, I thought the big man was just coming into some kind of form and a bit of momentum, but is what it is. Obviously Muzz still been away, just going through the kind of numbers and players in my head. Muzz away with the 21s, which anyone else?
How's Lewis McGregor? Is he okay?
Lewis McGregor joined in, so he was again, I took the decision on Saturday. There's been probably a couple of instances where he's come back to training looked great, whatever, and whether it be from the Livingston game, just building that kind of fitness level and getting it into his legs. And we don't want to start Lewis McGregor. We want a Lewis McGregor who's fit and firing as he was early part of the season. So I took that decision to kind of rest him and not take any chances. And the thinking being obviously longer term is that once you've got Lewis back fit, which he's trained Monday and Tuesday, that all good, on the basis that he hopefully continues that and we build him up that way.
It's something you've talked on before. You've never used it as an excuse. You've said so many times that every team gets injuries. We've seen it in other teams, other clubs last season. It obviously has a big impact on the pool of players that you've got available, but you've got that confidence in the guys who are fit and ready that they can go in and get a result on Saturday. Absolutely.
Or they wouldn't be here. And it's the only thing that really changes is you're maybe wanting to change things early in the game. You've not got that luxury of maybe making 5 substitutions. That's maybe the only kind of negative that I see from it, as well as maybe tweaking a few things here and there. But listen, the boys in that changing room are good enough. We've showed it already, as well as on the tail end of getting boys on the right side of the recovery in terms of back into training and stuff, which it adds to the dynamic. But again, I'm also human, also understand, especially from a younger player mindset as well, that going through a tough spell in football, that whether it's results, whether it's performance, whether it's X, Y or Z, that sometimes it can be a wee bit kind of on top of you. But I've also played enough football, like I said, played professional now for whatever it was, 17 years, so I know how football works. And listen, they don't last forever. Bad times in football, 1 result, 2 results quickly can propel you into a sense of confidence that you were thinking where that win was going to come from, and then likewise you can be on a great run of form and before you know it you don't win in 2 games and that confidence has been kind of whipped from under you. So I always try and keep quite mellow about it, that I never really get too emotionally involved when we're winning and doing really, really well, but on the flip side try not to get kind of too emotionally involved when things are maybe not going as well as planned.
A lot of the players who come through here, especially the younger players, they're here, you've said yourself, to learn, develop and hopefully go on in their careers. So I suppose these are the kind of things that they can learn and use this as a learning experience for that exact purpose.
Absolutely. Nobody more so than me as a manager, these are going to be the moments that make or break me as a manager in terms of hopefully in time and in future that the kind of end goal of where I want to be and where I want to get to in my managing career is I'm going to have to overcome hurdles and obstacles that are put in my way. So overcoming things like this and getting through the right side of it is obviously going to helps me, but then also helps the team, which is the most important thing, is that these players, like you said, some of them are 50 games and maybe even under that. So to deal with things as early on in their career, it can only be seen as a positive. It seems negative just now, but in the long run, when you're 200 games in and you're maybe in a position where you're that experienced head and you're passing your knowledge and experience on to a younger player, you remember back to when it was you and what you'd done to overcome it and what the message and how the kind of mood was about the place. So again, experience is great, and it's easy turning around and saying let's go and lean on experience and lean on older players and lean on older this and whatever, but the only way you gain experience is by going through it. And listen, we've got enough good characters in the club, in the building, and the playing staff and the staff, that whether it's been directly as a manager or a coach or a player, everybody's been through some sort of obstacle that they've had to overcome in football, and this is no different.
Well, we'll go on to that obstacle at Firhill on Saturday. Rhys, thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.